Hello and welcome to this first reflection for the first Sunday of Lent. I'm hoping this year to perhaps concentrate a little bit more on the first reading of each of the Sundays of Lent, because I think that the characters that we come across give us some really good pointers, particularly during this time of pandemic. This year, as last year, we had no idea that the coronavirus was going to take us over. We had not yet started lockdown at this time last year, and the virus was something very much a long way away in another country, and it wasn't really going to affect us that much, and well, it'd probably be all over by Easter. How wrong we were. It was far from our life in some respects. We were ill prepared for the impact it would have eventually on us. I'm reminded very much in this situation by the story of Noah, which we will hear about in the first reading on Sunday. He received a message from God that he should build an ark to save himself and his family from the oncoming wrath as God set about to purge a sinful world of all its evils. Noah listened to God and obediently obeyed his instructions which God gave him. He was to build an ark to save himself and his family and all creation. Others who looked on laughed at him when they saw what he was doing. They thought he was mad and they mocked him. But Noah nevertheless plodded on. He was obedient to what God had asked him to do. It's interesting to note that when asked what he was doing, others didn't think it important enough to perhaps imitate his actions against the coming onslaught. Had they done so, they too might have been saved. Noah was prepared because he listened and obeyed the will of God. Therefore, God was able to save him. He cooperated with God. In the safe haven of the ark, others could be saved too, if only they had taken the warnings seriously. They could have built their own arks in imitation of Noah, but they chose to ignore the warnings and the chance of salvation because they thought they knew better. God would never do such a thing, they thought. I look back on this past year and I wonder if it's been a year of wake-up, a call from God, a little bit like the call that God gave to Noah. He is offering us refuge in his ark here on earth, within the church. It was perhaps a call to the return to the safety of the ark of the church, that we needed to be protected from the evils of this world. Pope Francis speaks of the Noah story not just being about destruction, but about respecting limits and looking out to the marginalised. It's a time to bounce back and to find fresh hope, to find our souls again. Pope Francis says the good news is that the ark is there waiting to carry us to a new tomorrow. And the COVID-19, in fact, is really our Noah moment. Other points that Pope Francis makes are that we're now in a time when we are coming to our senses and we see the selfishness of the culture in our world in which we are immersed. How did we forget the gifts of God and each other? How do we become blind to the preciousness of creation? If we repent and look back to our Creator and to each other, we might remember the truth that God has put into our hearts, that we belong to Him first and foremost, and to each other. As Pope Francis says, we cannot go back to the world as it was before COVID. The world will never be the same again. We have to move forward, we have to learn from it, and we have to look at the world with new eyes, just as Noah did when he sent the dove out from the ark to see what was happening. He and his family were saved, and they began their new life, as was promised in that beautiful rainbow. Let's move forward this Lent with that promise of hope, and hopefully by Easter we will be able to rejoice fully in the resurrection of the Lord. Thank you very much.